Next week.
Next week. Is it in the other morning?
Yeah, it's in the other morning.
So in this 9 nights?
Mm-mm.
Will it be the other morning?
Yeah, it'll be another morning.
It will be Tuesday.
Okay, it'll be Tuesday.
It'll be morning. Before it's Valentine's Day. Maybe
Can you tell them have a good week?
have a good week.
Bye.
Oh, by the way, our shirts match. They're both Nightmare Before Christmas.
All right, go play outside.
Hi, Big Jaws.
Go play outside.
Bye. Bye.
All right. Today we are going to continue our study about men in the Bible, and we should know this one. This one is Zacchaeus. It's one of my favorite stories, I guess, because it's short and sweet. I like short and sweet because I guess it fits my attention span. But since it is so short, and since it is only one central verse, I want to, something I haven't done at all the last book, but I want to do it this book, is I want to read Luke chapter 19, 1 through 10. And this is where the context where every single thing in our study is going to come from today. So starting in verse 1 of chapter 19, it says, "He entered Jericho and was passing through. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. And he was seeking to see who Jesus was. But on account of the crowd, he could not, because he was small in stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was about to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, 'Zacchaeus, hurry and come down, for I must stay at your house today.' So he hurried and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all grumbled, 'He has gone in to be the guest of a man who is a sinner.' And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, 'Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor. And if I have defrauded anyone of anything, I restore it fourfold.' And Jesus said to him, 'Today salvation has come to this house, since he is also a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost.'" So this is all we hear about Zacchaeus. 10 short verses, but there's a lot in those verses. So it tells us in verse 1, he, meaning Jesus, entered Jericho. Okay, well, where is Jericho? Jesus is walking, Jesus is preaching, Jesus is teaching, Jesus is coming from Jerusalem. So we're 17 miles from Jerusalem. So it's pretty close. And when I was doing this, I was thinking, oh, okay, that's not too bad of a drive. And I thought, well, wait a minute. They walked. And then I started thinking of how long it would take me to walk 17 miles. And I'm not a runner. I'm not an athlete. I do enjoy walking, but I walk at a slow pace. We take lots of stops. With our kids, it's like we take a step and we got to look at the bug. We take 2 steps and then we look at the grass that's growing. Then we take 3 steps and we might see a flower. Matt and I always say when we walk, we do more stopping and looking than we do actually walking. So for us to walk 17 miles, it would probably take us 2 or 3 days just to walk that, because we stop so much. Probably longer than that. Honestly, my family probably take us a week to walk 17 miles. So they're walking, but it's not too far, but we're 17 miles from Jerusalem. But Jericho is a pretty big city. Jericho is wealthy, and it's important because it's an important city because that's where, if I remember correctly, I think it's where all the goods come in and out of. I just lost my train of thought. But I have written down it's an important city. But it was under Roman authority. So Jews were not liked, especially in this city. Okay? Jesus is walking into this city. This is where Zacchaeus lived. Now, they had heard about Jesus. Zacchaeus knew Jesus was coming because, the rumor mill was going. People were talking. People were excited. People sent word, hey, Jesus was here. Jesus was talking to us. He's heading your way. So Zacchaeus is looking for him. So we know Zacchaeus wasn't really a good man. Even though his name, Zacchaeus, means pure, he was far from pure. Tax collectors had the reputation of collecting more than what you owed, and you couldn't stop them. If you owed $50, but they said you owed $200, you had to pay $200, and they pocketed the $150. So tax collectors were very wealthy. They were not well liked. They were known for the fraud. But there's nothing you can do about it. So we have Zacchaeus. He's not a good guy. But due to his reputation, due to his job, his occupation, he's not a good guy. He was a Jew, and he was short. Okay? Now, not only was he the tax collector, verse 2 tells us that he was a chief tax collector. Now, what does that tell us? He's got people underneath him. If I'm a chief, I've got somebody below me. So he's not just the bottom of the line tax collector. He's been doing this for a while. He's gained his reputation. He's made himself known. And he's climbed up the ladder, so to speak. And he's the chief. So he has people underneath him. So this is what we have setting up. So not a good guy. When you think of Jesus, you think of, I want to say the holy people, the good people, your religious people wanting to go see him. Or people like Zacchaeus. Typically, if you're don't believe in Jesus, if you don't care about Jesus, care about what he says, you're there what? To look to see how you can hurt him. To plot ways to figure out where he's going next. You can set him up in a trap. Or you can find a way to hurt him. Or use things against him. But this was not Zacchaeus' point. Zacchaeus truly wanted to see Jesus. But and the reason he wanted to, one of the reasons he wanted to meet Jesus is because he was actually in his hometown. He's in Jericho. He's where Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus didn't have to travel. He didn't have to go 17 miles to Jerusalem. He didn't have to go 17 miles in the other direction and get to see this guy. He was coming to his hometown. It was a big deal. Kind of like here when you have a celebrity come or when you have a famous TV show. I know hometown travels around. When hometown comes, what happens to Fulton? We all go crazy, right? Oh, we want to see them. What house are they going to work on? What house are they going to go look at? It's hustle and bustle. It's craziness in that town while the people are here. This is Jesus. People have been preparing for Jesus to come, I imagine. I'm assuming. People have heard he's coming. They're waiting on him. They can't wait to see him. Can't wait to hear what Jesus has to say. And so Zacchaeus wanted to see him. But as you can imagine, when anybody, I'm going to call Jesus famous just for the point of this. When anybody famous comes, or well known, or that somebody wants to see, what do? It's not just one person that goes out to meet him. You have hundreds of people. So you got this large crowd going to meet Jesus. Well, remember Zacchaeus was short. So what is this little short man going to do? He's got all these people in front of him, all of them running to see Jesus. They see Jesus coming towards them, so they're all running to where Jesus stops and talks to them. Zacchaeus can't see. So Zacchaeus being short, he's probably used to this. He's got to find alternative ways to do things. He found a sycamore tree. And so he climbed up the sycamore tree. And until I did this study, I thought, okay, we have a huge magnolia tree in our front yard. I cannot reach the first branch. It's that tall. When I think of a sycamore tree, I think of a big, round, strong tree. That's not what a sycamore tree was. A sycamore tree was very similar to a fig tree, super easy to climb, not that tall, but it was enough to get Zacchaeus up above the people to where he could see. Just to where he could see over their heads to see Jesus, to hear Jesus. It was close enough that he could hear him, but yet not only hear him, see him over all of these people. And honestly, he wasn't being pushed and shoved and hit and punched and scooted and all this. He had his own little place in the tree. So Zacchaeus was sitting there pretty comfortable in his tree, as comfortable as you can be in a tree. And what happens next, he was not expecting at all. He's sitting there wanting to listen to Jesus address the people, to hear what stories Jesus has to tell, to hear what wonderful things he's going to say. And instead, Jesus walks past him, walks past the tree that Zacchaeus is in, calls Zacchaeus by name. He doesn't just walk past and go, hey, how are you doing up there? Nice to see you. Thanks for coming and listening to me. No, he calls Zacchaeus by his name. So Zacchaeus is probably thinking, okay, he knows me. That's not good. Everybody knows me. Everybody knows I'm a bad person because I'm charging or taking extra money. He calls me by my name. And not only does he call Zacchaeus by his name, he says, I'm coming to your house. Now catch that. It doesn't say, hey Zacchaeus, can I come to your house when I'm done talking? Hey Zacchaeus, I would like to come to your house. Hey Zacchaeus, I want to get dinner with you sometime. What does he say? I am coming to your house for dinner. Didn't give Zacchaeus a choice. Didn't say, would that be okay? He said, I am coming. We see in verse 6 what Zacchaeus' response was. He received him joyfully. He got down out of the tree, went home, and started getting this meal ready. Now, whether he cooked it, I don't know if Zacchaeus had a wife. I don't know if he had servants. I don't know. But somehow, this meal was done. They didn't get to run down the street to Mexican like we usually do when someone comes up last minute and says, hey, we're going out to eat. You find a restaurant. They didn't have that. He left. He went home. Now, you got to think about that for a minute. He was preparing. He heard Jesus was coming. He found himself a good spot. He found his tree. He was ready to listen. Jesus comes up before he says anything to anybody. Says, hey, Zacchaeus, I'm coming to your house. So Zacchaeus don't just sit there and say, okay, well, I'll walk with you, Jesus. When you're done talking, just let me know and I'll meet you at the house. He gets down and he goes and prepares this meal. Somehow gets a meal prepared for Jesus. So he doesn't get to hear Jesus. He doesn't get to hear anything Jesus says. But we know later when Jesus goes into Zacchaeus' house, Zacchaeus gets one-on-one, which was way more better than what he would have got in the big crowd. I shouldn't say better, because, I'm sure it was fascinating, impressive, whatever word you want to use, to hear Jesus speak. But yet, how much more meaningful is it that you're one-on-one? It was just Zacchaeus and Jesus that had a one-on-one conversation. How many of that large crowd would have longed for that? Would have wanted that? So, we see in verse 6, Zacchaeus receives him joyfully, brings him into his house. Verse 8, it tells us Zacchaeus turned his life around. Zacchaeus says, he tells Jesus, they've had this talk. You can only imagine what they're talking about. So Zacchaeus then says, if I have taken anything by false accusation, I will restore it fourfold. Now, the word if there doesn't mean if, like we say. If I did you wrong, then I'm sorry. If I did something wrong, I will repay you. The if here means I did and I will. Jesus, I did falsely accuse these people. I will go back and give them fourfold. I will give back 4 times the amount that I took from them. That says a lot. Number one, way back we started that Zacchaeus was wealthy. If you had to pay fourfold to every single person you have wronged, could you do it? I couldn't. I don't have that much money. Zacchaeus was in the position that he would do it, and he did. And he decided then he was going to follow Jesus, and he changed his life. He changed his life. So 10 short verses. We all, just because a man wanted to see Jesus, and he wanted to see Jesus so bad that he climbed a tree. And then by the time he climbed the tree, he didn't even get to hear Jesus. He ended up having to go home and get a dinner prepared, but ultimately he got more time, got one-on-one time, and ultimately changed his life around, all because Jesus came to his hometown. All because he was willing to listen to Jesus. He was willing to admit he was wrong. He was willing to change. So there's 4 things we can learn from Zacchaeus. The first thing is we should be willing to overcome our physical challenges to see Jesus. Zacchaeus' physical challenge was he was short. He was short. But he didn't let that stop him. He didn't let the crowds run over him. He didn't say, oh, well, I'd really like to see him. I'd really like to go, but I'm not going to see him. I'm so short. There's all these people in front of me. I'm going to be stomped on. I'm going to be pushed to the way. I'm never going to get to see him. I'm never going to get to meet him, so I'm just not going to go. He didn't stop there. He found a way to where he could sit and listen to Jesus. Again, and I struggle with this point, because this point is a touchy point and it could go in several different directions. But our physical challenges, take it to church. I can't sit that long. My back hurts. My legs hurt. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. And there are a lot of conditions that it does hurt. The pews may not be the most comfortable. But do we let that stop us from coming? Do we have, some people have to bring pillows. I had to when I was pregnant. I couldn't sit. It hurt me tremendously to sit. We had a lady that we used to go to church with that would always have to put a songbook behind her back because it hurt her so bad to sit in the pew. But she did it. She did it. She didn't let her physical ailments, her physical challenges, stop her from learning about Jesus. Now, we had one that would have to get up and walk during church services. He could not sit that long. It would send shooting pains, and he would be in so much pain. So he would get up and he'd have to walk in the back. Again, that didn't stop him from coming to Jesus. And I don't really know, or coming to church. I don't know if that's what this point means, but that's what went through my mind, is how many times I might just have a slight headache, or I might just be too tired. Now, I'm not saying if you're at home throwing up, if you've got to be in the bathroom, please, by all means, don't come. That's a physical ailment that can be excused. But I'm just saying, oh, I'm tired. My body hurts today. I ran 20 miles yesterday, and I'm not used to it, so I'm just going to stay home and rest. To me, that's a physical ailment that I am letting get in the way of me going to church. Now, again, I might be totally off on that. But all of us, if we think about it, we have a physical challenge, a physical ailment, something physically that if we wanted to, it could keep us from doing a lot of things. But is it keeping us from learning about Jesus? Are we letting it stop us, or are we like Zacchaeus, and no matter what, we're going to push through it? We're going to sit there. We care about it. We want to grow. We want to learn. We're going to push through it. The second thing, we shouldn't let riches keep us from Jesus. And this whole point was Zacchaeus was rich. And we have heard sermon after sermon after sermon on this, that some have taken this out of context. I have heard all my life people have made the comment, well, the rich can't get to heaven. No, that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says don't be consumed with money. Don't put money before everything else. And that's not just the church. Don't put money before your family. Don't put money before your job, whatever. I mean, money comes in all different shapes and sizes. Don't put money in front of God. And a lot of people do. It's very easy. It's very easy to do. Money just has that effect on people. And it changes people. You don't believe me? Let somebody pass away in your family. I've heard this all my life from everybody I've met in the church and out of church. You want to see a fight? Let somebody die. Let somebody die that has some money. And you will see the fight beyond the fight. I don't know why. Money just has that effect on people. And we have to be careful and not consume ourselves with that. Luke 18:24 and 25. And when Jesus saw that he became very sorrowful, he said, how hard is it for those who have riches to enter the kingdom of God? For it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. People don't want to let go of their money. They don't want to. And we are called to help those and not be consumed. And just like Zacchaeus, if he was consumed at one point with money. If he wasn't consumed, he wouldn't have been charging or telling these people they owed extra and pocketing that. If he wasn't consumed, he turned his life around, and what happened? He gave that money back. He gave it fourfold back. He was consumed. We have to be careful not to be consumed with money. The third thing, we should be willing to accept the truth when we hear it. Zacchaeus, when Jesus came, he did not procrastinate, he did not hesitate, and he believed right then while Jesus was still with him. Did we procrastinate? Do we hesitate? Do we not believe the truth when we hear it? Oh, this is not the right time in my life. I've got all this going on. I've got to finish school. I got to start a family. Well, maybe when my kids graduate high school. Maybe when I get my kids out and through college and have on their own and they have a family of their own, then I can focus on God. Then I can go and do this. Do we hesitate? When we know something is wrong, do we hesitate? Or do we just go on and do it anyway? Do we procrastinate when it comes to the truth? Well, I'm in this situation and I know what I need to do, but I'm not ready to do it. I'm not wanting to do it, so I'm just going to put it off for another week. What's another week? Another week don't matter. Well, the week goes on, and then it's a month, and then it's a year, and then it's 2 years, and then it's out of control, and we can't fix it. Zacchaeus, when Jesus said, I'm coming to your house, he didn't procrastinate, he didn't hesitate, he went. When Jesus told him that he needed to turn his life around, he didn't procrastinate, he didn't hesitate, he did it right then. He went out and he gave those people fourfold. I'm assuming starting the next day. I do not know what time of day Jesus met him. He may have went out the same day. I don't know. He did not procrastinate. He did not hesitate. Do we procrastinate? Do we hesitate? Lastly, we should be willing to make amends for our wrongs. This is a big one. Zacchaeus may have been embarrassed. Think about it. Everybody knows your name. Everybody knows who you are when you come knocking on their door. You're not a liked person. They know why you're there. I guarantee you, if I ask you how many of us just cannot wait to write our property tax check, just cannot wait for that bill to come in the mail in December, just cannot wait. As soon as it comes in, we pay it the next day. We're so excited to pay that bill. No, I venture to say it's due February 1st. How many of us wait until January 31st to pay it? I'm one of them. If I knew I wouldn't forget February 1st, I would do it at February 1st at 4:59. I don't like it. He didn't. So, Zacchaeus had to go take people's money. When he goes back to give them fourfold, do you think maybe he was embarrassed? He had to admit he was wrong. It took a lot. It took a lot to go. Even though the people knew he was wrong in what he did, it's still manning up and owning, hey, I did this and I'm repaying you. And not only am I repaying you, I'm repaying you 4 times the amount that you gave me. It's embarrassing. So there's no doubt he was embarrassed. He had to ask forgiveness. He had to tell these people, hey, he admitted, we all knew he did wrong. He admitted he did wrong. He probably was laughed at, like, are you crazy? You're going to go, remember, he's the chief tax collector. He's the leader. When he goes and tells the people below him, or when the people below him see him doing this, they're like, you're crazy. You're out of your mind. Why would you do this? Probably made some people angry. He probably went up to people and maybe some people thought they were just paying a little bit extra and they come to find out they were paying a whole lot extra. But did it stop him? Did it stop him? No, he did it. He made amends with these people. He became a new person. Now, I'm assuming he continued to be a tax collector. I am assuming, the Bible doesn't tell us any different, that from this point on, if you owed $100, he only collected $100. If you owed $50, he only collected $50. Now, did what he do since he was chief affect the people below him? Don't know. But the point is, he knew he had to make amends, and he did it. And we all know from personal experiences, just by life, amends are hard. Making amends is hard. It is embarrassing. You will be laughed at. You will have to ask forgiveness. People will be angry with you. But guess what? You have to do it. You have to do it. Once you do that, once you've made your amend and done your part, you're done. Your hands are clean. You've done what you need to do. The rest is on them. Kind of like my saying right now, because we got basketball on the brain, is the ball is in their court now. What they do with it is their decision. But you did what you were called to do. Zacchaeus did what he was called to do. He changed his life. He talked to Jesus. When he turned his life around, he went and did all he could do for these people. He couldn't do anything more than give him their money back. And he did. And he gave them an abundance, more than that. We need to be like Zacchaeus. If there's somebody you wronged, if there's something you've done that you need to make amends with, we are called to do it. It doesn't have to be public. Now, Zacchaeus didn't have a choice. His was public. He had to go to these people. He couldn't just send them a letter and say, okay, here you go. But we talked about technology in the sermon today. It's a blessing and a curse. An easy way out. You want to make amends? Shoot a Facebook message. Shoot a text. I don't know how Twitter works, but I'm sure you can write something on Twitter. Instagram. Snapchat. Write a letter. You don't have to make that phone call. You don't have to do it. Now, is it better if you do it face to face? Yes, because then, some things get misconstrued when you do it over the computer or the phone. But there are ways to make amends. Are you making those amends? And this went way long. Sorry about that. But I will stop there. So that's Zacchaeus. 10 short verses, but we learn that a lot from Zacchaeus. He was a little man with a big heart, and we see where it got him. Next week, we'll talk about Nathaniel, never assume anything. So that's another big one. So I hope you all have a great week, and I will talk to you all later, or see you all next week.